Hey everyone! It's mid-morning on a Saturday and I am up to finish some work on my kitty cat's quilt top. So before I get started, if you're new here to my channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Oops, it's this way. It's that way. Pretty sure. It's that way. It's morning. I'm not all normal right now. So don't forget to subscribe if you're new, like my videos, and share them. Share away, have fun. Other than that, let's see who's here. Hello Tracy, hello Sandy, hello Tiff Smith. So, this is not normal times for me guys, but I didn't really get much sleep. I'm exhausted, tired. My throat hurts from coughing my brain's out all night long. It's like the cough almost just got worse for a while. Like, it's like worsening. It's the weirdest thing. But I don't care. I'm up. I need to get this finished and get stuff done. So I'm going to piece these rows together while I chit chat with you guys on a Saturday mid-morning. Well, for me it's mid-morning. It's probably afternoon for you guys, but for you guys out there in the world. Oh, stupid chair. Me and my stupid seat. I should have went yard sailing this morning, so I can go find me a bar height chair. I haven't done that. This thing sucks so bad. So, alright. Where I left off last night, I pieced all the rows and they're just sitting here. So I'm kind of just going to go from the bottom and work my way back to the top because it's right here in front of me, so it makes it easier to grab. And I'm just going to start sewing. Here's my bottom row, and since I'm sewing always on the right, I need to make sure that I grab them in this way. And I didn't press everything. It's all just finger pressed as I finger pressed yesterday. These are the, like when I make stuff like this, I kind of do the pressing after the whole piece, or the whole top is together. It kind of just, I skip the steps, you know. So those of you who are piecing like 5-inch squares and stuff together, go ahead and press between every row. Press all the rows and then sew the rows together and press in between every row. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to give it a quick finger press and then I'll iron everything. So, hi, what's everybody up to this morning? I'm just going to be doing this, so I'm just going to nest my seams. I'm pretty sure I did right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left on all my seams. If I messed up, obviously I'll flip it and it'll get pressed out. Again, it's just for my cat though, so it's okay. My cat's getting his own quilt. Sometimes when I get to the ends of these and it hits either the end of the extended table and or the lip between the end of the table and the presser plate, it flips the seam. So if you guys ever had that problem, just flip it back. Should be okay though. I always just make sure before I get to it. There's a lot of seams in this project only because it's scrappy. It's scraps put together. So I just make sure everything goes down the way I pressed it. And it's 8 across by 10 down, and I have a couple extra pieces, so I'm gonna make the cat a little pillow to go with it, so that I've never really made a well, I've made curved pillows, but I've never made a purposely curved pillow. I'm going to make him a little curved pillow that sits on the end so he can, and the quilt will go like down and then the pillow will go on and it'll make him a little cuddle area in the circle of it. So I'll figure it out, obviously. I just think it would be adorable. So I'm binding together, which means a project almost done. Yay! I did cut my finger and sew through my nails. on my last side. That sucks. I do it all the time. Maybe it's a Tiff thing. In my normal everyday life, actually, I go by Tiff as well. Tiffany is my given name, obviously, but I like the nickname Tiff. It makes me feel mature, because it sounds mature. Tiffany just makes it sound formal. So I'm gonna lie. I go by Tiff. So maybe it's a Tiff thing. Maybe we Tiffs sew through our fingers and cut our fingers, because that's just what we do. I do it all the time. It sucks. And it hurts. Hello, Sonia. This fabric also presses quite well, actually, which is nice. Just need to give it a nice little press. It's because I starched everything first. That's another thing you guys can do, is make sure that you starch your fabrics. We have another one. I know that this side right here is the top of my pieces, and that side. So if I grab from this side and put it up here, then I know it's the top every time, so that I can sew down the right side of everything. Every block was 5.5 inches, and now they're going to finish. I'm not adding any borders. It's just going together as is. Hi, Vicky. God, it looks like you guys never sleep. You and Sandy, Vicky and Sandy, you guys are up just as much as I am. No sleep. Because we were just here a few hours ago, and I was up until about 5:15, I think, was the last time I looked at the clock. So I probably fell asleep around 5:30-ish this morning. And I've been up since 8:30, so that's not much sleep at all. Just after midnight people, we're vampires, we're up all night. And I just realized that's probably too loud of a movie. I put in, oh my god, what is it called now? I Am Legend, Will Smith. I put this in as my, not only background sound, but my catch my eye for a moment movie. But it gets kind of loud. It's about the end of days or something like that. Not very good with describing movies, by the way, everyone. Same here, too much pain. Although, Vicky, you know why I was up most of the night, because my bladder issues. Not even back stitching because it's going to get bound anyway, so I'm just going to finger press all these seams to the right, which would be up because I'm sewing from the bottom up. And I kind of don't want my threads coming up through these seams, so I'm going to pick them as I see them, I guess. It happens though when you don't cut all your thread tails and they end up through the seam, which is no biggie. Sometimes I notice them when I'm quilting and I cut them. Or when I'm making a quilt sandwich and I'm pinning everything, that's when I notice them too. Sorry, my phone is going off at the same time. Nest my seams together. On a Saturday? Gotta go pay the bills on a Saturday? Well, have fun. Don't spend too much money. Bills are like the dreaded thing everybody does every month, and they're like, can't anytime I ever just spend the money on something I want. But you want electricity, and you want water, and you want gas, and you want... Most of us want Wi-Fi these days, or some kind of internet and cable, or TV of some sort, you know, so I guess you gotta pay. Although if I was a millionaire, I'd probably pay all my bills like 5 years in advance. I don't even think the companies would even allow that. Maybe 6 months in advance, but, you know, 5 years in advance? I wouldn't want to think about it if I was a millionaire. It's errands that are open all the time. Oh, for like, okay, yeah. I get what you're saying. Like, we have, well, no, I think we do have an errands here. We have rent to own, I know that. I don't know if it's an errands that we have here, but I know we have rent to own. I did that years ago for my TV in my living room. Finally just paid it off cash because it was very expensive, and I could have bought like 5 TVs at Walmart, 5 big screen TVs at Walmart for the price I paid for the one from Rent-A-Center. But at the time, I could only afford a weekly or bi-weekly payment than like an all-at-one going to Walmart and buying TV payment. That's how life works, though. Window open so I could see outside and provide some natural light in here. So I think my lighting is very well defined today. It's kind of chilly in here. A seam right next to a seam. That's barely going to show any fabric right there. But hey, it's crumb pieces in reality. Does anybody have any plans for today? Like going to dinner and movies or anything exciting, like going on a date or... Probably not many of you watching, but when people do come on later and watch the replay, let me know in the comments what you guys do on Saturdays. What is your favorite thing to do on a Saturday? Do you like to go rock climbing or hiking or hang out with friends or go to lunch with grandma or you know, go to lunch with Betsy because, you know, she's your best friend and you've known her 25 years or, you know, things like that. What do you do on Saturdays? My favorite thing on a Saturday is to quilt and or hang out with my husband and watch movies on the couch in the living room, or lay in bed and watch movies because we have a TV in our room too. I also like to hang out with my kids when they're readily available for me to hang out with. Hi, Tracy. I have to go. We'll catch the replay. Have a good day, everyone. Okay. Have a good one. I know it's a totally different time for me to be on. Totally different time, but it's just me putting together what I was doing last night. And I told you guys I'd be back to do this, so I'm back. Wow, these are going pretty darn quick today. Of course, it's not very big, so that means I'm going to have to try to get my son to come in here so he can go grab a bag of batting so I can don't have to go out there in the garage and hunt for one. I can tell him to go do it. I'll just explain a bag that I know has the most, biggest, largest pieces. I kind of take all the batting, especially when you frame quilt on a long arm. What always ends up happening is long armers ask for at least 4 to 6 inches on top, bottom, and sides for when we attach it to the quilt top and have room for error. It's just natural for us to have room to move around. A lot of times we put a little practice piece on the side so that we can make sure our tension is great and blah, blah, blah. Well, all that leftover batting, I chop away and I just stick it all in a bag. And then sometimes a person will want the leftover backing back for their scrap piles, which is how I have lots of scraps from, all the way around. So I use backing fabrics as fillers and or scrap pieces for practicing designs on usually, but I always end up with lots of leftover batting and lots of different brands, all sorts of different brands. You couldn't even imagine. There's so many different brands of batting. And I take all those brands of batting and I stick them all in bags. I try to put them by brand, but sometimes it just gets messed up. So I'll have to tell my son to go grab a specific bag that I know has the most of a similar brand in it so that I can frankinpiece some batting together and choose a backing for my kitty cat's quilt here, which I don't know what I want to use. I don't want to use good fabrics. I'm just going to use something scrappy, obviously. I might have some scrap fleece, depending on how big this, not fleece, flannel, depending on how big this turns out. That way he can have a nice quilt. Are you looking at, can you tell my hand is bad? Both my hands are, I don't know if you guys can see, they're shivery. They're really bad. They're all gross and nasty. And I have lotion on them, and I should have my gloves on, but I slept with my gloves on, so they're kind of soft now, but they look gross, and they itch, and they're shivery. So, didn't know if you could actually see that, Teresa. Safety pins to get here so you put your kitty cat quilt together. Safety pins, what, for pasting it, you mean? Is that what you're talking about, Vicki, is for basting it? Yeah, my gloves don't have fingers. I thought I showed them to you guys. They're not in here. They're in my room because I took them off this morning when I got it. They're just winter gloves, but they're really, really soft kind. And I put the lotion, the special lotion. It's an anti-inflammatory, anti-itch lotion, and I put it all over my hands. And then I don't like lotion on the palms of my hands. Although the palms get itchy, I cannot stand the feel of it. So when I do have to put it on the palms, I stick these. They're winter gloves that you would go out and play in the snow, but the softer kind. And I put them on my hands, and I just leave them, and I have the two fingers, these two fingers on both hands chopped out, so I can play with cell phones, tablets, sew, and thread needles still, and so on and so forth. Oh, my gloves. So they're killing me today. I think I scratched them raw 2 days ago. Really, really bad. But quilt shop. Well, what you getting at the quilt shop, Teresa? Got batting together. Okay, so you're basting. You need safety pins to baste. Do you buy curved pins, Vicki, or did you get just regular? I use just regular safety pins when I baste. Although it would be nice to try some curved ones. I don't know if Walmart sells the curved safety pins, though. Not that I've seen when I was there, but I have so many. CJ! sail, like a big sail. I love sails. Oops. Sewing without. I never see it. It took 3 blocks before I realized I was out of bobbin. How many of you guys do that? Just be sewing and sewing and sewing, and you're not thinking anything of it, and you go for quite a few blocks or even a whole row before you realize that you don't have any bottom thread going. That happens so often for me. It's the funniest thing. I don't see how I always end up doing it, but it keeps happening. I must just never really pay attention fully. Oh, it's funny. So when I run out though, I always come back about an inch from where I was. Instead of having to back tack and put a big thick amount of thread in one area, I actually come back like an inch and start sewing. Just so for those of you know in the future, or for beginners who want to know when you run out of bobbin, come back up about an inch from where it ended and then start sewing again without having to backtrack. I notice sometimes the backtracking in the middle of a project actually adds a little bit more thickness to that seam, which is kind of weird. I don't think people realize that it does do that. Really? Your machine tells you and stops? That must be one real smart machine. This is just the Juki, so obviously this one's not computerized. Juki does make computerized machines. Every place makes computerized with a screen. I like this one though. I'm fond of my straight stitch machine because it goes so fast. You guys know me, I like going fast. Just ran out of bobbin too. How funny. So is Vicky, are you saying yours is tells you those kind of things too, your machine, or no? Or is that just the machine you have? Three more to, no, 1, 2, 3, this one and 2 more to go. Oops, and I just pulled this up, which pulled the, almost pulled the thread out of the hole. Sometimes it does, accidentally. I guess Cyrus didn't hear me. CJ, come here. I got portable and an embroidery machine all in one. So yours does have a thing that tells you when you run out of bobbin? In the garage behind the long arm frame where all the batting is. Right at this end, towards the left, and then when you're looking at it, this end, on the top at the end, there's a big white trash bag full of batting. Can you bring that to me, please? Let's see if he brings the right one. That way you guys can go with me through the journey of piecing batting together. Nothing wrong with frankinpiecing some batting. And I do all that on the Brother machine because it has a zigzag stitch. There's no way that you're gonna do Frankenstein batting with a straight stitch machine. It does not quilt well. Thank you. That's the right bag. close the door all the way. Thank you. Yes, he is. He's a cutie. But he's also deaf, just like any other teenager. They are all deaf. He's got his video games on, that's why. When the video games are on, they cannot hear us. They can't hear a soul. Nothing. Somebody can probably rob the house and he would never know, or the house would burn down around him, he'd never know, because, you know, unless the video game stops working. Then they realize things. Oh, are you serious? Nope, that's not gonna work. I thought I was being creative. Hey! Oh, that was a lot of work. I don't know how I'm going to turn the camera when I frankinpiece batting, but I could probably just turn the desk around so that you guys can see. Since it's a little portable desk, it doesn't require much effort on my part to move it around. Because it's so small and cute. Idea food, they hear me. I don't even think mine though hears food time, because that kid has to be reminded to eat unless he's super hungry. Then he'll finally come out and join the world and eat something. I forgot that this movie is like super scary. Not scary, but the creatures in it are. That's why the house gets closed up in the dark, because they come out after dark and can't touch the light. Almost done. Then I could turn the iron on and press this and make it nice and flat. I think I got almost all these little thread pieces in the seams, but we'll see when I get to putting it together. Like I said, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm probably going to just quilt some straight lines with the walking foot and then change out to the free motion foot and do a little bit of free motion in it just for fun. But at least you guys get to join me through the process. Although I have a bazillion other projects that need to be attended to. This one's getting first class attention though, because that way the cat can come in here and lay on something, you know. That way I don't have to always close the door and keep him out. He'll have his own little bed. Well, blanket, quilt, whatever, to lay on. Last one. I'm gonna press it and then see how big so far it is, so that I know how much batting I need to piece together. And if any seams do not match when you do crumb blocks, it's okay, because guess what? They're crumbs and you can't even tell where there's a seam technically because all the pieces are put together. So, let me turn the iron on. Mr. McSteamy coming out to play. I'll turn the camera more so you guys can watch my behind, because that's all you see when I'm over there ironing is my backside. There we go, right there. You guys can watch I Am Legend while I press. How's that? You guys can watch a movie while I'm here. Would a 6-inch puppy block look good in a shadow box? Like white on bottom and left side brown with black sashing. Look at it with the deer panel. Yeah, it would. And when you're saying shadow box, Vicky, are you meaning like like almost like an attic window? Is that what you're talking about? I'm gonna press from the back first, just so that you guys know, so I can push all these seams up the way I had wanted and intended them to go. And no, I do not have my big ironing board in here. That is out in the garage to press anything before it goes on the frame. It is kind of too big for this room. Like, it is literally too big for this room. Yeah, that would look good. You'd have to show me the fabric, Vicki. Alright, let's stick that right there so I can even see. Alright, that should be warm enough. I'm not going to use any steam, I'm just using it to heat it up, making sure all the seams are laying the way that they are supposed to, just laying it on top, kind of giving a slight tug to that top row so that it stays up here as I push that seam down. The best way to do it is just press, not iron, and then I'll press, or steam it when I get to the top. So for now I just give it this is like the slightest tug. It's just making sure that that seam is staying open a little bit. Obviously you guys can see, you can see my hand giving that tug. Yes, on Facebook, share me on the messenger. And when I can't reach the top, obviously, I just pull at the next seam up. Just to make it fold down. And if it's a really cold day and it feels chilly like right now, turn your iron on and do some ironing. Because this is warming me up now. I was chilly, but now I'm warming up. Get more than one seam at a time. The way I like to do this is often much pushing. Again, I'm just kind of slightly tugging from the seam below it to make sure that there's not going to fold on the top side when it gets to the top. That's one thing that happens often, is the front side. If you press from the back first when you're doing your quilt tops, what's going to happen is if you don't get that seam open enough, you'll have a fold on the front side, which ends up jumbling the seam up funky when you finally turn it over. So it's good to pay attention to that. Like I said, it's just a slight tug, it's not much. It's just making sure that it's staying open. Just laying those seams down. See what I mean about some scary little nighttime creatures in this movie? Woo-wee! Those are freaky little guys. Just can't say little, it's humans. Something's wrong with them. Alright, flipping it now, and I'm just gonna, instead of press, I am actually going to iron and steam. Obviously, steam will not work if you don't have water. There's no water in this thing. I use a lot of steam. Hello, Michelle. Another one of you who just doesn't ever sleep like me. Now I'm ironing, because what's happening is I'm making sure that it's pushing those seams all out of the way and not jumbling up. A pretty chunky seam going on right here. You can feel them. I'm just going to reach my hand and push it the way I want it so that it's not bulky. It's where 4 pieces of fabric are coming together and just add a lot of seam. That flattens it out. Right. My kitty cat's quilt top is kind of big. Kind of big. Let me lay it down and I'll show you. Move that out of the way. Come back over here. Lay it on the floor. Lays so flat. Alright. It is super adorable. Obviously I'm upside down because it is all pieced with the kitties facing the correct direction. Isn't that super cute? You could take any scraps and throw it together. And even though for a cat, filled with cats, fabric quilt, I think it looks
awesome. What do you guys think? Pretty cool, right? Yeah, I'm going to look right now, Michelle. I'm going to measure it first and then throw it over the chair. So, I'm going to put you guys back up here. Thingamabobber. That way you can see the chair also. Alright, let's measure it first. I just measure from the middle. Honestly, it's easier for me. So it is 50 long and 40. Okay, so it's 40 and a quarter or 50 and a quarter, honestly, but it's 40 by 50, a quarter inch. I'm not gonna fuss it up, yeah. All right. And I'm not adding any borders. I just want it to flop over the chair. See? Just like that. Obviously my sweater wouldn't be there. So, kitty cat can lay on his quilt on a chair. Perfect. Alright, let's frankinpiece some batting together. I'm going to lay this back down on the floor so that I can see. We're going to turn this desk around so that you guys can see me. Like I said, it moves quite easily. So you guys will see me from different angles. That's why I like having my little new stand that my husband put together for me. Hopefully the lights don't blind you guys though. We'll see that in a second, because I'll just adjust them. Alright, let's turn it to the other machine. Like that. You guys can watch me frankinpiece some batting together. Just like so. Yes, perfect size for the kitty kitty. It's very cute too. I do not have a charger over here, so hopefully my phone doesn't die on this side. Oh, I need a big pair of scissors. Can't cut batting without it. Oh. My little portable cutting mat for my little area here. Just place that right there. That way it doesn't slide around. So, Frankensteining batting, for those who are new to quilting, is when you take my big bag and all the leftover battings, so they're all different brands. These are all different lofts. Like this is a really heavy loft. Let's see. And this is a heavy loft. Let's see if I can find all the heavy loft in here. That's thinner. Where'd that other little bag? Oh, I just threw it way over there. I think this is a heavier loft also. Alright, they're kind of different, but they're kind of the same. So this seems long enough. What we're going to do is I'm going to take one piece and I'm going to find its straight edge by just holding it and rolling it up the table like this. So that's the straight side, because I want the straightest side possible. And then take another one. This one's not 40 inches wide though. Just barely. So I'm going to add a piece to the end of this first to make it as wide as I need it to be. I might have to do one or two, so I'm going to put that one aside. Start with this guy. I'm going to set my machine, I wish I could show you guys this, to a zigzag stitch. On my brother, it's number 6 that I want. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to widen the stitch width and lengthen the stitch length, because I don't need it to be super tight and super close. I just need to hold the batting together. And I think I'm going to bring this close so you guys can see. I really think that this is an important thing. So bear with me and the camera for a second. We are going to bring this super close so that you guys can see what I'm talking about over here. I'm going to sew it down, hold it down so that you guys can see how I'm doing this. Oh, let me show you what the machine is. So I chose this zigzag stitch, right? So it's number 6. Oh, you can't even tell. Yep, you can't even see the screen. So it's number 6, this one. And I'm going to widen it so that it's wider and lengthen it as well. So I'll do that once I put this back for you guys, so that you can see how I'm doing this. That way you guys can see the needle area as well, watching it go back and forth. Okay, so I'm going to lengthen it to 2 millimeters. Actually, we'll do 3. And we are going to take that width as high as it goes. So it's at a 7.0 on this machine. And these are some thick battings. This one's a lot thinner, but I don't care. Like I said, I'm just piecing it all together for the kitty kitty, because I don't see another really, really thick one. Oh, here's some more thick one. It's not thick, that's just folded in half. Actually, I just found some batting that might be big enough for the whole thing. Hold on, I'm going to lay this on here. Give me 2 seconds, guys. Oh, nope. It's short. Trying to see if there's any more of this really thick stuff. Alright, here's one. Let's see, is that length? Nope. And you can see, I don't know how well you guys can tell, but this is for like, I can rip it in half if I wanted to thin it out, but you don't want to do that with your batting. So these are 80/20, by the way, poly cottons. Back before you went off. See if I can. Yeah, so I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to just estimate from here to here. And I'm going to slide this under here. My feed dogs are up. God, this is so thick, hooking these two together. But I'm going to do it anyway. And I'm going to put this through to where the seam is literally in the center of my presser foot. I'm just going to let it go back and forth. I'm just butting them up to each other. I am not overlapping on any way. I am just butting the two up together and letting the machine stitch it. And this is how I frankinpiece. It's a good thing I forgot that. I almost didn't change out my thread color, but it's a light pink, so it shouldn't matter. And it's going really, really back and forth. Just butting them up together. I pull all threads from previous projects off, and this one just got itself stuck. If that happens, either snip it away or pull it, lift up the presser foot and pull it away. So this is frankinpiece batting. Do you see how that stitch, it's really, really wide, but see, it's not coming apart. So again, to get my length I need, I'm going to take another one, go on it, making sure it's nice and flat, cut a little bit more off. And I just keep sliding them under. This is for people who are just throwing together quick projects where it doesn't matter, or scrap projects, or say you don't have the money to go buy batting but you still have tons left over from other projects. Piece it together, because nobody is going to know what is inside that quilt in reality. If it's a quick gift and this is all you have, this is what you should do. Obviously, it's probably good to try to stick with the same brand, but if all you have is a bunch of different brands, hooking them together is okay. Alright, let's find another thicker piece. Oh, those are small. Let's see if these are now the same length. Almost. I'll cut that end off right here, and then I'll sew it to another piece. I know it seems like it's weird putting them all together, but I need this straight edge. Let's make this edge a straight edge. So what I'm going to do is lay it right here. I'm going to start right here. And all this little stuff, what I do is I stick it in another thing and I use it as pillow stuffing. So my kitty cat's pillow stuffing will have all this left over when I go to make his pillow. So I'm going to try to keep this a nice straight line. So this, I just rip all this up and make pillow stuffing out of that. Alright, so let's put these two pieces together now. And this one already has that straight side. I'm going to put the smaller piece under the throat of the machine and the bigger piece on the outer side. Line it up and do the zigzag. Butting them up together as I go. Making sure the butt up is in the center of my presser foot. This is definitely the best way to frankinpiece batting together. Also, that wider stitch helps it stay together better. It catches if you don't have it center, so, which is good. You want that. And I don't mind all these different locks. Once it's washed, it'll go back down nicely. It's just for the kitty. That's it. And if you notice that it's not going, just shove that back under. And there we have more frankinpiece batting. And it stays together pretty good. And if you have a gap where it didn't catch, don't worry about it, because once you sandwich it together, it should be fine. So that edge looks pretty straight to me. So let's hook another piece to it. So this one isn't long enough. So let's put this on here and see how long we need it to be. Wow, this one is so super thick and fluffy. Okay, we need to add this square that I chopped off the other piece to it. Look at that, perfect size. My frankinpiece batting. And batting, like cotton blends, they actually have a top and a bottom. This is hard to tell, like it looks kind of softer on one side. Some of them don't, some of them do, but in reality, some batting has a top and a bottom the way it's weaved together to make and create batting. These are a little bit harder to tell. The only other thing to do when you have a ton of batting left over from other projects, quilt as you go. Cutting it all up and doing quilt as you go projects. That's another thing that's good. Or table mats, placemats or whatever. Okay, now this is long enough, but it needs to be straight on one side. So I'm going to trim. I'm going to hold it nicely right here and trim this one side nice and straight. I'm just eyeballing it, obviously. As long as this other side stays aligned and I pull the same way, it should cut the same way. Again, these pieces just go into my pillow stuffing. Alright, there's two more. So let's grab that original other piece and we're going to flip this over and run it through. Lining up my two straight edges. Like I said, some of these are thicker than others, so I'm just going to line those two, butt them up, run it through. I am going to pull extra string that ended up on here from other projects off though as I go. This one is like super lofty compared to this other one. That's okay. It is for a cat, so it doesn't matter. Hello, Anna. I didn't even see. I'm not paying attention. I should be paying attention, but I'm not. And if you're having trouble sticking the smaller batting, I always choose the smaller side to put through the machine because batting is, it sticks to your stuff so much, like gets caught on this and that. And it's easier to stick the smaller side through the machine. It's also good to use a machine presser foot that closes a little bit better. Because if you use one that has openings, the V, you might get your batting caught on it quite often during the whole process of frankinpiecing. Run that through. Alrighty, now there's another one on there, so let's see how wide this is now. Now it's the width, but not the length. So now I'm going to trim this end off right here, creating another straight piece. You find another one and attach it to it. That one's too thin. I might have to use, let's see, this one. Big too. Let's see this one. So if it's thinner, I think this one's way thinner. I'm just gonna fold it in half, create just a little bit more loft. That way most of the loft is the same. Let's see. It's not long enough, so I'm gonna create another piece on the end, keeping this together. I'm going to straighten this end up. That way some of it's not totally funky and flat. There we go, because this piece is thicker. I'll put these two together. Oh, and it'd be nice to have a threaded needle. And I have a light, oops, what am I doing? A light pink thread in here. I'm trying to use up my drawer of threads. I have so much. Hello, Shelly. Yep, it's small. It's a small throat. Oh my god, are you serious? The only machine I know how to use the threader on, and it won't work. How funny. Alright. Line these two up. Alright. Remember, I got one folded in half just to create the loft to match the same as these other lofts. Running it through. Now I'm going to take these two sides, keep it together, and now attach it to the length on this side because it's straighter. Yep. Alright. This is definitely some frankinpiece mess up here. Alright, this should create its perfect length and width. This should be the last one I have to piece together. Just butting them up together. Oh yeah. Now it's similar in loft. I'm glad I folded that one. And again, if the batting gets stuck under, only with polys you'd have to worry about that. With cottons, you won't have to worry about it getting stuck under your feet. So I forgot to say that. But this is the bag I wanted to use because I needed to use up all this stuff. Butting them up. And if you have to slow down, slow down. It's kind of better to rush batting through though really fast, or else it gets caught on everything the slower you go. I do still have to choose a backing. It's what you got to do quilting. There's not. I've done a queen size on this in this throat space. It's not that hard. I mean, it is, especially if you're hurting. It's a little challenging when you're in a lot of pain. But as long as your table surface becomes flat, like this is, how it matches with the desk, it makes quilting so much easier on smaller domestic machines. With my Juki, it's just the same. It's only a couple more inches. I mean, a couple more inches does make quite a difference, but all right, this should be long enough now. Let's lay it down and see. Ooh. Literally just cutting it super close, but guess what? Doesn't matter. Alright, so frankinpiece batting. Whoa, that was not supposed to happen. Sorry, guys. You can tell it's frankinpiece. You can see the thicker versus the thinner. You can almost see through it, but it goes completely over. I just need to stretch it just a little right here. Which is good about polyester and cotton batting, these ones, because they stretch a little bit easier. I don't want to stretch too much at the stitching. Obviously it's held together nicely, but that should be plenty. Plenty of batting. Okay. Now let's choose a backing. So I'm going to back the camera up. And I'm going to look through some stuff while you guys are here. Oh look, there's 12 of you. Like I said, you guys know that I can see from this screen, so let's see where we should start. I have somewhere over here. You know what? Something that I will never use. How's that? For anything else. Let's see if I even have enough. I have this. I will never use it. It's flannel. I will never use it on anything else. Oh, that's not enough. Darn it. Almost. Almost. Let's see. Literally cutting that so super close. That's not going to work. Well, it was an idea. Obviously. I want you guys to see what I'm doing at the same time. So this isn't going to work. Not enough. Not enough of it. Back on the bolt. Can't use it. Well, I can use it for another junk project. Another donation project of some sort. Alright, let's see. Anything else that I've got over here that's not for anything else? Let's see how much of this brown I have. Nope, not enough. Not enough of that. That's too thin. Nope, not gonna work. I'm digging through fabric right now, guys. Everybody's favorite thing to do. Play with fabric. Nope, that's not gonna work. This is a upholstery furniture, or upholstery fabric anyway. It was for a an upholstery project that I've done. It's not gonna work. My cat is a boy, so I want boy. I'll save that for another time. I'm gonna stay. Any ideas, people? Any ideas? Let's see how much of this I have. I guess I want you guys to see what I'm going around looking at. I found this right here. It's a flannel, not flannel, there's length, but not width. Darn. Darn, darn, darn. Any ideas, you guys? Any ideas? Yep, choosing this backing. At least trying to choose. Trying to choose something that'll work. Twin sheets I have, they're all out in the garage though. I have lots of them, lots and lots of them. They're all in the garage, and I didn't want to go out to the garage to do anything. So I was going to try to just choose from in here. Let's see what this is. This is probably a 60 inch. Some of these are my 60-inch fabrics. Oh yeah, there's plenty of this. Let's see. That's what the kitty cat's getting. This right here. He is getting this one. That'll work. So I need to cut. What did I say my length was, guys? 50 and a quarter. I'm just going to lay it on here. A little bit of excess hanging over. And cut right here. Okay. So to cut this, I'm not going to go get one. I'm just going to do this. It's pretty. See? I'm going to fold it up. I might go in half again because it's a 60-inch wide fabric. Re-put it back together properly. Lay it up here. Pull this out. Because I can use the leftover to make his little pillow as well. It's just a floral. Alright, we need to take 50 something inches. Make sure it's straight all the way down. We're going to put the kitty cat quilt on it. Just follow it down. So make sure that we're cutting the end that we need off. I just want the length. Oh, I just need like a few inches towards the top. So we're going to wrap this into it for now. I just need to know where I'm cutting. And I'm going to cut right there. So I line this up like this. Moving that there. Find me a straight line. Right here, right there. We're going to take it down just a little bit extra. Right there. My new cutter. I'm just barely touching. Slide that ruler up. Bam. Look at that. Oops. It didn't cut the salvage perfectly, but I barely did any touching that. So that leaves me with enough to make him a pillow. Look at that. Now let's baste it. $40 by $50. Yep, you're right. I'm pretty sure that's what it was, like 40 1/4 by 50 1/4. Alright, slide those out of the way. Basting is done on the floor. I'm going to turn my desk out of the way. Clean up all this batting. Okay, so you guys know I typically don't like crawling around on the floor. But since I'm here in the house on carpet, it's a lot better, you know, on carpet. So we're going to take you guys over here while I'm just going to quick baste with some spray carefully and some pins on the outer edge. So I'm going to lay this backing fabric down on the floor with the right side down. I'm not even going to press it. I'm just going to line it really nicely. I'm going to do my best not to have to crawl around. flatten it out as best as possible. All the way around. And then I'm going to lay my franken batting on here. And I'm going to get it nice and centered. And make sure that it's really nice. My wonderful franken batting. Pulling threads. Alright, does anybody say anything? Alright. Now, I'm pretty sure you guys can't see every single angle down there from up there, but without pulling on the backing fabric, trying to keep that nice and flat when you're basting quilts. I lay this on here first. Make sure it's nice, sitting the way I want it. I grab the top. I'm going to lay this on here. Straighten it up. Alright, and the fun part begins with the spray. Look at this thing. This is like super, super lofty. This is one lofty quilt. Alright, here's the fun part. Some basting spray, which I really didn't want to have to use in-house, but we're going to do it anyway. I use the Dritz basting spray, by the way, guys. It's the same as 505. It works exactly the same. It feels exactly the same. It's just the same stickiness and everything. And I'm going to start from this end because I don't want any shifting of this really tight corner right here that I'm pushing it with how much batting ended up right there. And I'm going to use the last of this spray. I'm going to start by just using a bottle that actually is going to spray. That's what I'm going to start with. It's right there, just like that. Folding the batting up as well. Expose the back. Now on carpet, so if there's wrinkles, it's going to suck. But I'm going to spray and go. Just a light amount. Keeping it on the fabric only. And I'm just going to lay this onto it nicely. Flatten it out. Making sure it's staying nice and flat. Grab the next. Get a little bit of spray. Bring this down onto it. Okay, now to come in from the other side. So I'm going to block the screen, obviously, and I cannot see your guys' comments from over here. So now what I do is I roll this side up. Like that, out of the way. And then I take the batting and I do the same separately. And the whole entire time I just stick with the section that I'm working on. So I carefully stamped. I just roll it back on, add a little bit more spray, roll it back on. Don't have to use much. Add a little bit more spray. Pull any threads out if you see them, or catch them on the way. And the last area. Keeping it nice and flat. Now to pull the top down. Same exact thing. I'm pulling any thread. Like I said, this was scrap batting, so there'll be just a little bit of thread, you know. Just a little bit of spray. Grab it, and I try to get that section, pull it back up. Add a little bit. That section. Pull it back up. And then that next section. Back up. When I say roll it back up, it's up to where the spray doesn't feel like it's sticking. Next piece. And some on the edge. Right here. I gotta pull this batting out. You guys can't see what I'm doing probably right here, but the good thing about this is you can separate this spray from the when it's sprayed. You can still lift up. Polyester is a little bit harder with the poly blend battings, but it still works. A little bit of spray in that corner, a little bit of spray, and a little bit of spray in that corner. And this doesn't gunk up the needle or anything. And then I go through, flatten the whole thing out. And it's great. And then I get my pins and add just a couple pins just for safety. Mainly in my corners is where I pinned. Where did we go? Over here. I'm not used to where I stuck some things in here yet. There's my big huge thing of pins. And a special case. And like I said, I just kind of add them in the corners. So I'll put one here. And one catty corner from it, but like the same distance. And I lift it off the carpet so I'm not grabbing the carpet as well. I put one right here, which is the center. Again, one about right here and one about catty corner from it. I'm not even going to bother cutting away anything. I'll just quilt for now in case there's any shifting, which seems to happen sometimes when you're free motion quilting. So I'll add two down this way. On a bad day, there is no way that I'd be able to do this. I have a hard time. That's why I chose to long arm instead, because free motion quilting and basting from the floor was really hard for me. I'm sure a lot of you it's hard as well. and 2 more pins, and then I'm done. Because I'm not really going to put pins anywhere else. I'll put one about right here. And one about right here. Okay, so here's my quilt sandwich. Alright guys, let me hold this up now so you can see. So here's my quilt sandwich. It's nice and flat, and if I turn it around, the really only wrinkles you see, which will come out during quilting, is from how the basting spray sits in the batting while it's up, you know, and obviously from not ironing first. I do highly recommend pressing first, but for the sake of this being a cat's quilt, and it's going in the washer right after to get it nice and fresh for him, so it doesn't smell like basting spray, because right now it does smell like basting spray, and all basting spray has kind of a strange scent to it, and to get him to want to be on it, it has to be washed. So let's put this up here on the table for now, and grab myself a walking foot, change out to that, put my ironing board over here as my extra leverage space. You guys will see what I mean in just 2 seconds. I'm going to put this up here. The ironing board is adding just a little bit of extra table for me. See? That's what happens, ironing board at adding table. So, alright, let's put this back over here for the angle. And you guys can watch me quilt. Okay. I need a walking foot. So I keep all the parts to my Juki, all the pieces and feet and blah blah blah, all in one spot. Wow, all that calling around, let me tell you guys. Woo-wee. I'm going to pull out a free motion foot and my walking foot for this. I'm going to stick that down there for now. Pull this away because I don't need anything up here. Take my foot off. I'm going to start with the walking foot. Give it some general lines to start with. My walking foot requires me to take out the screw completely. Maybe it'd be nice to get all the lint off of everything. This is the walking foot wise, you leave your feed dogs up. Also, some people think that it's almost like free motion quilting, but technically you leave your feed dogs up or the walking foot don't do anything. So now that's on. And I should have brought myself in a little ruler, but I didn't. It's nice to have a guide ruler for spacing, but I'm just going to stitch in the ditch, that's what will help me keep it in straight lines. Alright, so I'm going to grab the top and the middle. Oh, I have white in the top. Okay, I'm using white thread for this project. I'm going to find the middle, and this is kind of lofty, so I'm going to do my best to get this under here. It has a little bit of play. I'm going to find that center, and I'm going to take a few stitches right here to tack it down. And then I'm going to stitch in the ditch all the way down. And if I can't see comments or anything, or I don't get to them, guys, it's because the quilt top is like in the way.
Stitch and ditch all the way down. And what I do when I'm free motion quilting and or using the walking foot, I like to take my hands and, I don't know if you guys can even see from there, and I just push around the areas, spreading it out so that all the fabric doesn't just shift all one way when you're using the walking foot. Even though the walking foot takes both backing, batting, and top all at the same time equally, for some strange reason I have noticed that it has shifted fabric certain ways with the walking foot. So what I do is I take my hands and I put them on the fabric and I spread it right as every time I get to that next area, so that it equally distributes the quilt top, and on the bottom the walking feet should, or the feed dog should be taking care of the rest. So I kind of just sew a little bit, spread my fingers, sew a little bit. Spread my fingers, sew a little bit. And yes, I sew super fast. I'm going to change my stitch length after this stitch to a bigger stitch length because that's what I like. I'm just making this my, like my basting stitch almost, down the center. Just making sure everything stays in place. It's nice and neat. I do not recommend when you are free motion quilting on quilts to use your thread cutter. Pull. I always recommend, when even like this, thread cutting is at the ends. But when you're in the middle of something, in the middle of the quilt, don't thread cut, because what's going to happen is on the bottom, it's tying, you have tied it off and now you have two, sometimes they're too small to even grab, thread tails hanging down on the bottom. So I do recommend, especially when you switch to free motion quilting, that you always pull your bobbin thread back to the top and snip from the top. That's one of my recommendations. So, alright, now back to the top again. Now I'm going to go this way, this side now, and then I'll turn the quilt around and go the other side, equally distributing the way that it's going. And all I'm doing is stitching in a ditch. But see how it's kind of puckering up? I don't know if you guys can see from there. Again, I'm just spreading it out, distributing the fabric equally. This one, and then go to the other side. So now I gotta take this pin out. I'm just gonna throw pins right there. If they fall on the floor, I'll find them later. At least they close, unlike regular pins. Everybody still there? Still with me? Okay, I'm just making sure. Nobody said anything. I guess you guys are intrigued by watching me do this. Have a walking foot, you can actually just use a regular
foot on your machine to quilt with. It does work. It just doesn't bring the fabric up equally, you know? So now I'm going to turn this around. I'm going to find the center. And I knocked the needle. It's another thing that happens often when you're moving quilts around. Just try to keep your needle away from, the quilt away from the needle and thread area, because it's just going to constantly pop it out, which is highly annoying. Alright, so let's remove this pin. I'm just throwing them up there for now. Ooh, that's cool. So again, smaller machines, just the same thing. Roll it up and shove it in. It doesn't even have to be perfect. You can, as long as it's up and out of the way and you're not stitching it and saving room for your hands. If you have room for your hands, then your throat is definitely big enough. If you can still do all sorts of things. I'm pretty quick with the stitch in the ditch. That's how I started quilting, was stitching in the ditch. It was easier, so I kind of do it pretty darn quick. And something just got knocked down. I'm gonna go pick whatever fell up. Oh good, it stayed closed. My thing of pins fell on the floor. It stayed closed though. Make sure all my other stuff stays up here and doesn't fall. It's nothing. Make sure your work area is cleaned up. A messy work area and you won't get much done because you'll just be knocking things over. The bigger the quilt, the bigger the area you need. But it is easier to manage in small areas, you know. I'm going to slide that under there. Come back up, do this one. I'm just stitching in a ditch, Michelle. Right now. Coming back to the top, do the next. I'm kind of securing all the ditches first, so I'm going to go all the rows, between all the rows this way. Then I'll turn it to the side and go between all the other rows. And then I will add some kind of free motion quilting after, just for fun. Only because I can. Just to show you guys. Right now I'm just in a quick manner. Here comes a throat tickle. Never done it before? Never done what before? Vicky.
stitch this way. Oop, gotta pull that out. You never quilted before, Vicky? Like anything like this? So what have you been doing when you make something then? See how it's helping to have the ironing board right here? Because everything is now that way and it's helping it stay up instead of pulling it off the end of the table. And since this is now considered a really high loft quilt, because I, pieced together, and one was a thin loft, so I folded it in half and made it as thick as the rest of the loft in the quilt. So it has a little bit of a weight to it for such a tiny little quilt. And every once in a while you're quilting, especially when you're free motioning, you want to look underneath and check your tension. During my movements, I've noticed it's good. But it'll change when I start free motioning. The tension always seems to mess up during free motion quilting as opposed to any other style quilting. What is that? His name is Thumper. Like, he was named after Thumper on the movie Bambi. That's why they call him Thumper. Because when he was a baby, he didn't walk. He hopped around like a bunny, literally. He did not walk like a regular cat. He hopped. So, alright, all those ditches are now stitched in. And if I look underneath, I notice there's no puckering. There's no folding. It looks great. Now to go this way. So what I'll do this way is I'll find my center, start in the center and work my way one way, turn it around, find my center, the next seam over, and go the opposite way. So now to get this big old lofty thing back under here, come to this seam right here. Use my fingers to get it out. Go just a few stitches real quick. Adjust and go. And I'm still doing the same thing, even though I've already stitched in the ditch on the rest the opposite way. I'm still using my fingers to make sure that everything is open. It also tests to make sure how well your seams or how tight your seams are. Because if you start pulling that seam and you see your thread, that means your seam's not tight and it's not going to hold for as many years as you had hoped, You need to make sure that before you even start quilting, obviously, that all your seams are together. Because in the beginning, in my learning process, I learned that if I pulled it and I saw a seam, I knew it was going to fall apart when I was learning, because all my first quilts did fall apart, but I didn't know nothing about stitch length. I didn't know nothing about any of that. Now that I know and I understand it and I see what's happening, I know to lower stitch length for certain projects. Certain seams get pressed open on certain projects. Those are the ones to be careful for when quilting and stitching in a ditch is an open seam, because open seams is more prone, because now both the seams are spread open on the back side. It's actually more prone to being pulled apart because now it's both seams are open on each side. So it's actually better to echo ditch, which is stitching 1/4 of an inch on each side of the ditch, because then it's holding down those two layers, because the seam is pressed open of the fabric. When you're stitching in a ditch, we're holding only pretty much one side of the fabric. You can also stitch on the ditch where your seam is pressed to one way, holding it down, taking less chance of splitting your seams. You don't want to split your seams. So I know really complicated projects, a lot of people do pressed open because some seams called to be pressed open. But when you're quilting a pressed open seam, it makes a big difference which way or how you're quilting it so that you don't spread your seam. That is a very bad thing, is to spread your seam, because that will, the whole 10, 12, 14, maybe 10 weeks of a project that you just put together will fall apart in the wash, or over, if it doesn't fall apart in the first wash, it will fall apart over years because that seam is now open, and even though there's quilting on top of it, that doesn't stop that seam from spreading open. So watch your guys' seams. That's another reason why I do this whole thing, not only to spread the fabric out, but I'm also looking at my seams all the time, just so that you know. I hope you guys understand how I explained that just now. It just helps. It's an extra step that you see it's happening, so it helps. Yes, very good info for you. It helps. Alright, so now I'm going to start going this way, and then I'll turn it around and do the other end after I do all this way first. See, if I wanted, because this is such a high loft, I could probably stop after stitching all these ditches, but I'm not going to. I'm not going to stop there. My kitty deserves only the best. Only the best scraps I can find. Scrap batting, scrap blocks, backing that I would have probably never used on anything else, so works out great. Works out great. 37 minutes, that's it? I've got all this done in 37 minutes? This is impossible. I'll look in a second. That doesn't sound right. Unless you've been watching it for 37 minutes. Unless that's just the, when you guys look at time, maybe that's just the time you've been watching. It doesn't seem like I did all that in that much time. I've been on an hour and 49 minutes and 13 seconds. So it must have been how long, it shows how long, maybe by what you're seeing on your screen. But look at this, I've almost attacked a whole entire finishing a quilt in a almost 2 hour period of time. I'm going to pull these pins because they don't need to be in here anymore once I get to a certain point. Okay. You be right back. It's okay. Oh, and all this leftover batting, once everything's trimmed, I'll pull the batting from the fabric, just to let you guys know. And the batting will go in my bag of batting, which the smaller parts get separated into a different bag for stuffing. But even with the sticky stuff on it, it still works for stuffing. But I separate them, and I put the fabric into a different scrap pile for practicing quilting designs, and or, you know, if I need a little piece of fabric because I ran out and this is the one that matches what I'm working on, that's what I use it for. Got close to that pin. That wouldn't have been good to run over that pin. Not at all. Alright, come back up to the next seam. I'm just going to pull this one out because it's not needed anymore either. Okay. You don't have to tell me when you guys are going and coming back. Just thought I'd let you know that. Honestly, in reality, I'm kind of not totally paying attention because I'm trying to do this. Like, this is my normal speed. This is how I do things. Unless I'm designing something, then it kind of takes a little bit longer. But if I don't look at the screen, I get this done faster. Back up again. I also try to make sure that my thread tail is going back behind me. Not me, behind the machine. Well, thank you. Oh, yeah. I gotta clean my phone screen. I just realized that it has basting spray on it. From my sticky hands. Usually I wash my hands in between steps, but I'm kind of in here, so it doesn't matter. That way I didn't have to leave the video. So I'm going to pull that out, turn the whole thing around. I'm technically sideways now, and I'm going to go up to, slide this under there. I'm dropping things. My seat is falling apart. Ouch. Oh, and I was thinking of trying some motifs in here. Got from the library. My husband went and picked it up from the library. The Free Motion Quilting Angela Walters book. It's probably an earlier book. So there's 28 designs step by step in here. I could probably mess around with those. Alright, where was I? Okay, so this seam, okay, so now I'm on this one right here. So let's move it. Cute quilt, baby. Yes, my Tumpy is going to love it. He's really going to love it. Or he's going to hate it, and he's not going to care. Because he's a cat. And cats aren't like dogs. So he's either going to never come to it or he will. It's got to be washed first though, because the smell of basting spray, I'm pretty sure he's not going to like that. That came right out. It was just stuck in the seam. My machine is shifting because I'm going so fast. I do not free motion quilt this fast, by the way. I only stitch in a ditch this fast. I love it. I think it's adorable. I absolutely think it's adorable. And I don't care about the backing part, because the backing is just fine. I have my stitch length, by the way, at a 3 millimeter, like probably 1 notch beyond the 3. So it gives it a wider stitch. That wider stitch kind of gives me, when I look at something, a more hand quilted look. And it's very thick. This is turning out very puffy. Just with the stitching in a ditch. It's turning out quite puffy. Which makes it super cute, but I still want to add more to it. So the high loft will actually make any other quilting I do on here stand out quite well. But I'm securing it all first. And what I also want to tell you guys is I'm leaving these so far because I'm going to free motion quilt as well as stitching in the ditch. I left all these ends not stitched, so I will not go and stitch a 1/4 inch all the way around like I would normally if I was just leaving it as stitch in a ditch. Normally I would stitch all the way around with a 1/4 inch seam just to hold it until after I, you know, trim everything down and then bind it. With this, I'm leaving that end open purposely because if I free motion quilt anything around these edges, in case it wants to push anything back out, it will help it lay flatter. So I'm going to leave them all open for now. Just thought I'd give you guys that little snippet as well. As long as I'm spreading my seams, everything should still keep lining up nicely. A nicely pressed quilt top and basted properly should also do hold a lot. Hey, you guys gonna pass. I like it a lot. Low income, so I got to wait till I can get more fabric. Angela is really good with quilting. Yes, she is. Maybe in January I got interested when I found Sammy's site. Oops! I almost ran it over. Me and these darn, I'm not used to safety pinning. I only do it around edges and stuff anyway, but still, I'm not used to it. Okay, so for now, I'm just going to show you guys this. The free motion quilting part I will do in a little while because I've been on for quite some time and I'm starting to get hungry. So, and I know my husband wants to watch movies today as well. So for now, what I'm going to do is give you guys a pretty quick walkthrough of how we finish quilts. So for now, let me lay this up here so you guys can see. This is what it looks like stitched in a ditch. I don't know how well you can see that, but it added quite the amount of loft, if you guys can see. Some areas are even puffier. And there should be no folds or pleats. I just looked through the whole thing. See? Came out really nice, and then I go and I look at the back, and I say, oh, look at that. It came out really nice. No folds, pleats. That's what I love about the basting spray, honestly. It helps it lay nice, you know what I mean? There should be nothing wrong, even though I did it on carpet. And it'll help also when you wash it, and fabric does wrinkle on quilts after you wash it. That's why show quilts are just freshly quilted. They do not get washed in between, but, oh, I have one little itty bitty fold here, so this is what happens sometimes. It's tiny, but you know what? If you take your finger and you scratch at it and tug a little, it'll help pull it out, but in the wash, you will never know. So that's the only one I see so far. So it came out really, really cute. I'm going to hold it, step back and hold it up so you guys can see. I don't know what movie's right yet. I know we're watching, oh my god, it's a funny movie with Jason Bateman. Jason Bateman. It's a new one that just came out, a comedy. Oh, this is the top. Alright, so this is it. This is just so far. I'm going to get off of here, so. I had just enough franken batting, perfect amount of backing for my kitty cat's quilt. So I'm going to take you through the next step. I'll tell you about it, and then I'll actually do it in my next video because I'll add some free motion to it. But for now, I'm going to get off of here. So when you are finishing a quilt, say this is done, you stitched in a ditch, and you are finished. What you're going to do, and I'll show you right here real quickly, like, what you're going to do
So you're going to take your rotary cutter. I'm not going to cut it. I'm just going to show you. And you would take your long ruler. It's best to have a long ruler. I personally like having a big mat. So I would slide it up to the area that I need. Make sure everything's nice and flat. I would align my ruler along the edge, and I would start from the middle right here, cutting this, okay? And I would take my rotary cutter and go, zoop, and then I pull all this away while it's still attached, and then I will slide it up to the next section, again, cutting all the way to that next section, which you'd be able to pull this whole side off, okay? And then you would just follow that all the way around, just lining it up with the edge of the quilt. This quilt is very, very straight. So like there is no adjustment, just shoop, sliding it right down. Should have no mess. And I take and separate, again, all this. You do all 4 sides. You can start from the bottom. You don't have to start from the middle like me. You can start from the bottom, chop up, start from the bottom, cut up, you know, whatever is easiest for you. And then we would bind it. You could also take and cut the batting away first along the edge with a pair of scissors. Cut along the edge, cutting all the batting away. Then you take your ruler. If you want to take your backing, if you have enough of it all the way around, your backing can actually be folded over. If you cut away a certain amount, fold it in half, press it, and then come around. Your batting or your backing could actually become your binding. That's rolling your back to the front, which actually looks really, really cool if you do it right. So there's plenty of ways you can finish it. I will finish it for real in another video. For now, I'm just going to lay this right here so you guys can see. I'm going to come sit myself up for a second. Oh, there is one of my clips fell on the floor. So that is my almost finished Thumpy quilt. Thumpy is my cat Thumper. I just call him Thumpy. It's funny. It's cute. It's not like he really knows, because most animals, cats-wise, don't really know their names. I mean, they don't commonly called like a dog does. So. Alright. So yeah, this is definitely could be, like Michelle just said, it could be a baby quilt, even though my kitty is my baby. Or anything you want it to be. Perfect size for children, or kitty cats, or dogs. Dogs, even for all you dog lovers, go buy a bunch of different, or get scraps of a bunch of different dog fabric and just start having fun. These now are 5-inch finished squares. So I'll come back later with some free motion quilting and how I finish everything off. But for now, if that's how you want to finish it, those are the easiest ways to finish things. But for now, I'm going to get off and go eat and watch TV. So for those that are new, thank you for joining my quilting life. Hit that subscribe button right there, and a bell will pop up. When that bell pops up, click it, and you will get notices for every live video. Hopefully, you will get the notice for every live video that I make, because it's only live, and or notifications when I post a regular video, which isn't as often. Also, thumbs up, guys. Thumbs up. Lots of thumbs up. And I guess that just helps bring the videos to the top, you know, for the next one. You know, the more thumbs up, the more chances of that video becoming next in line of my videos for you to see. So I hope everyone has a great day. To comment below, for those of you, tell me what you like to do on Saturdays. Do you like to hang out and watch movies? Do you go to the movie theater? Do you go out to dinner? Do you hang out with friends? What do you do on Saturdays? Let me know. Bye for now, guys. Talk to y'all later.